Today I'm going to show you 3 builds, one made by a subscriber, one made by an AI, and one made by a random number generator. In each game, I will try my best with the builds given to me, and anytime a build doesn't specify something, whether that's mods, subclass fragments, or whatever, I will fill it in with something that makes sense. Your task is to figure out which build was made by the subscriber, the AI, and the number generator, and to make it more fun, I have the evil machinacious minds Archibald and Reginald here to review each build. Let's begin.
I swear to the Traveler, if your check bounces, I'm calling... are we live? Our first build is built around Void Hunter and Chaining Invisibility. It uses Ace of Spades and Omnioculus, with a Sniper for good range and good overall damage. For our aspects, we have Vanishing Step for invis on dodges, and Stylish Executioner for invis on debuff targets. Of course, we don't want to leave the grenade out of the fun, so we have the Suppressor Grenade, with Echo of Domineering for buffs on suppressing a target. Our Sniper is... Good God, how did you hit that shot? Our Sniper is the classic Adored, set up for PvP with Snapshot and Killing Wind. In terms of combat prowess, the Ace of Spades really did most of the heavy lifting here, as the Memento Mori perk has no real equal for damage and ease of use. Despite being built around invisibility, we were invisible for very few of our fights. And watching the game played back, I think I know why. When our Hunter engaged in combat, the majority of their kills were around the 20-meter mark, meaning that the most optimal tool for our toolkit was throwable equipment like our smoke bomb or grenade, or of course the hand cannon. With the inconsistency of both throwable abilities and their tendency for their debuff to run out before a kill can be secured, the only consistent way to acquire stealth was by using our dodge. Marksman dodge does have a rather fast cooldown, but the build creator chose to focus on strength first and mobility second. Thus, our smoke bomb was up quite often, but our guaranteed invisibility was not. Truthfully, with how competent Ace of Spades is at, well, everything, the creator could have very easily replaced our secondary weapon with anything they wanted. However, the choice of Sniper ended up playing well with the map our Hunter happened into, which possessed mostly longer lines of sight where the Sniper can truly shine. I'm freaking out in hives looking at this meta build. Can I be done, please?
Want to get paid?
Oh. It should be pretty apparent that this build performed well, and in terms of gameplay feel, I would put it somewhere between backline and mid-range. It has decent escape tools and felt coherent, albeit a tad awkward. If it weren't for the Ace, I would have assumed that this build is being set up for PvE. Either that means this wasn't made by a human, or it was a human build made in the wrong context. You will have to decipher for yourself, but personally, I found it effective, but artistically boring. Build number 2 was a Strand Warlock build. It featured the new sidearm, the Final Warning, and the BXR Battler. The idea of the build was to play around threadlings, so as many fragments as could be reasonably afforded were allotted to make them more frequent and more deadly. Not surprisingly, this setup was paired with a threadling grenade, which worked well for maintaining constant pressure on enemies between the close-range sidearm and the long-range BXR. Our mods were mostly haphazard together, such as Fastball and Grenade Kickstart for increased threadling grenade uptime and consistency. As for the gameplay, this build felt like a split between trying to force the shiny new sidearm into a build and sticking with what works, that being the BXR. It should be noted that the build creator did not specify exotic armors with this, but being that this is a threadling grenade, and me being the pure testosterone-filled giga-chad that I am, already had the Swarmer's exotic boots on hand, and ready to infest the enemy spawn points like a pack of maggots on a fresh corpse. Generally, I was never caught in a situation I couldn't handle. However, there was a clear difference in power between the Final Warning and the BXR. The idea of this sidearm felt too good to be true. An auto-locking pistol, with the same flavor and design tones as Titanfall 2's Smart Pistol, an analogy I am sure you've never heard before. But in practice, its ability to make Guardians take the pavement temperature challenge is severely limited by its abysmally long wind-up time and travel time. Because of this, I ended up playing more of the match from BXR range, and throwing threadling grenades out like spoiled milk. I attempted to close a gap and play slightly more in the faces of the foes, but this often resulted in an untimely reminder of how long the Final Warning takes to kill. There! Am I done now?
Yeah.
Good. Kids these days. Alright, so the last build is an ambitious one. Striker Titan with a generally aggressive aspect and fragment setup, with a double primary loadout of auto rifle and SMG. The build is generally set up to be fast and aggressive, which isn't anything surprising considering the subclass tendency to beat their chest and make incredibly loud chimp noises, but the real star of unusuality is the choice of exotic armor. I'm willing to wager my left cabal that if you weren't tasked with naming every exotic piece in Destiny 2 from memory, the strongholds would be the most likely to evade your cognition. And judging by the blank look on most of your faces, allow me to give you a brief refresher. The strongholds are an exotic Titan gauntlet that maxes out the guard stats of any equipped sword. Also, blocking damage immediately after pressing guard refunds a small amount of health. Fun fact. While guarding, these gauntlets supply the largest individual amount of damage resistance in the game, allowing you to survive things that not even most supers are capable of. But I digress. Most of the time actually playing this build is of course not using heavy. In fact, we spent most of our playtime trying to puppy guard the heavy ammo spawn, but suffered mostly defeats. The interplay between the SMG and the auto were surprisingly effective, at least for the map ranges. It seems most players severely underestimate the killing power of 600 autos, which was to our benefit. We really hit our stride when we were in the natural habitat of the knockout Striker Titan. 6 feet or less. As much as I despise the body odor of your average Crucible player, I understand the joy out of punching the life out of the nitwits that make the mistake of getting within fisting range. Our movement options to get inside those spaces weren't limited either, with both shoulder charge and our thruster ready to go with any quick burst of speed we might need. Obviously, having something more immediate, like a shotgun, fusion rifle, or even a grenade launcher would likely benefit the build better. But this is clearly a gimmick build from the beginning, so who am I to suggest logic?
Gee, was that so bad?
Yes.
If you haven't already, comment who made each build after you hit that subscribe button. Alright, so we had the Hunter, the Warlock, and the Titan. Let's start with the randomly generated builds, and hopefully everyone got this one right. It was the Titan. I was honestly surprised we were lucky enough to get an exotic armor piece that made sense with the weapons. I was really scared we were gonna get like something for just PvE, which didn't make sense for PvP, or something like Peacekeepers, but no SMG. Next up, the AI build. That was your Hunter. It seems that it was just going for what it knew worked from other people's videos and such, so we might have to change the prompt in the future, but for right now it worked, and hopefully it tricked you because, of course, lastly, the human build was the Strand Warlock build. Let us know what your thought process was on each build, and how you're able to determine who made what. Like I said, subscribe, bless your faces, and deuces.
I know the sheep.